In American history, ever to be elected to the United States Senate. Before me, the third black person was Barack Obama. Before me, there was a black woman named Carol Woolsey Vaughn. Before that, a guy in the 70s, way back around the time I was born, named Edmund Brooke. Not only am I the fourth black person ever elected, I'm the only black person ever elected from New Jersey, and I was mayor of New Jersey's largest city, which is Newark, New Jersey. Before that, I was a city council person. Before that, I was a lawyer helping folks out who couldn't afford to hire lawyers. Before that, I was at a place called Yale Law School, studying law school. Before that, I lived in England for 2 years on a scholarship. Somebody paid me to go over there, paid my travel expenses, everything. It was called the Rhodes Scholarship. Before that, I was getting my master's degree out in California at a place called Stanford University. Before that, I was a football player and get my bachelor's degree at Stanford University. Before that, I was a high school student in the upper northeast corner where I was president of my high school class. I was an all-American high school football player, and I was a younger brother to a great man named Cory Booker. So that's my biography, that's my resume, but you guys can ask me any question you want. Sir?
You said you've been a senator since 2013.
Yes.
I just wanted to ask you how you feel now from you growing up. When you were growing up and now you was thinking about before what your life was going to be. How do you feel now?
That's a great, how do you guys ask such good questions? That's a great question. And I was recently talking to a really good friend of mine about that. Like, if I could go back and speak to myself in high school, what would I tell myself? And I think I would tell myself a few things. One is, wait. This is going to be beyond your dreams, this thing called life. You are going to end up in places you never imagined possible. The second thing I would tell myself is stop stressing so much. Stop worrying so much. Just work hard and love hard. So I think that my teenage self would be blown away by where I am today. This is well beyond my dreams for myself. And my hope is that we all have that kind of life. My 94-year-old grandmother, she came with me to Washington, D.C. when Barack Obama was being sworn in. And I remember the cameras getting in front of her face. They wanted to interview her. And they asked her, did you ever think you would live to see a black man become president of the United States? And I didn't know what her answer was going to be. She goes, no. This is beyond my wildest dreams. My hope for every one of us is that we are living a life and seeing things that are beyond our wildest dreams. And I'm definitely having that experience. Yes?
When you actually what you do to become who you are now.
Oh my gosh! Did you hear that question? Amazing question. I think it's a really important question. Because a lot of people just want to ask about the successes. But far more important than your successes in your life are your struggles. You learn so much more from the times you stumble and fall, from the times you get knocked down, than you do from the times that you're successful. So one of my biggest life, wasn't a failure, because ultimately a failure is not final if you don't give up. But I had a spectacular stumble when I ran for mayor of the city and I lost. They actually made a movie about it that was nominated for an Oscar called Street Fight. If you ever have 87 minutes, you guys should watch this movie about me as a young man trying to become a United States senator, a mayor of New Jersey's largest city. And the documentary captured everything. I lost, but it was one of the best experiences of my life. You know, there's this thing that I think is so true, is some people see things as stumbling blocks, others see them as stepping stones. Some people say there's a pothole, some people say that's a pool of potential. Some people see something as a failure, but other people see it as feedback. And so all of life is about how you interpret it. I learned this so much that every time something bad happens to me, I think to myself, gosh, this is a gift. What is there for me to learn from this? So my toughest experiences in life have always rendered me my best opportunities. Let me give you one last example. I'm in the 7th grade, and it's the first political office I ever ran for. I'm running for president of Harrington Park Elementary's 7th grade class. And it came to the day that me and the 3 other candidates, Chris Cheevers, Andy O'Grady, and Michael Coleman, Why they were all guys, I don't know, because women make better leaders, frankly, in my humble opinion. Anyway, the 4 of us were running for president class. They each go and give their speeches. It's my turn to give the speech. And I stand up in front of my class, and guess what happens?
You lost.
What?
You lost.
No, we're not at the loss yet.
Oh, you lost.
Ah! Yes! Pound me, please, don't leave me hanging. I froze. It was when I realized I was terrified in speaking in front of people. And I not only froze, I wish I just froze. It was worse than froze. I shook. I froze, and my hands were shaking, and I had paper in my hand, and the paper was making all this loud noise. All my classmates were staring at me. They were uncomfortable. Some of them started giggling at me. I just couldn't get a word out. I'm starting to sweat. It's in the air-conditioned room. And finally, I try to speak, and the teacher, just out of her mercy, comes and leads me to my seat to sit down. I went home that night. I won't tell you if I cried or not, but I threw myself onto my bed, into my pillow. I was so terrified. The person I had a crush on was in that class. All my friends, all my peers, my whole universe was there. And I remember distinctly saying to myself, no, I'm not going to let this be an end. I'm going to let it be a start. And I'm going to one day become a good speaker in front of others. And that just doesn't happen. It's not a decision. It's a process, right? And so every opportunity I got, I used to just push myself to speak in front of crowds, even though I would sweat and get nervous and shake. I joined school plays. I became captain of my basketball team. Any chance I had to speak in front of others. And then, anything that you want to do in life, study those people who are already great. So I started buying cassette tapes. I don't even know if you guys know what those are, but I started buying cassette tapes of the greatest speeches of all times. So I listened to everybody from former presidents to people like Martin Luther King, and I would listen to their speeches, rewind them, listen again, rewind them, listen. I'd memorized them. And it took me years. It took me decades. But eventually I got pretty good at public speaking.